Two men are both 45. Same generation, similar health, yet one already seems 20 years older. One man's world keeps expanding, the other's gets smaller. And one phrase after 40 can trigger almost all of it. We'll reach it at number 1. Habit 7. They never become too mature to be ridiculous. After 40, some men start treating seriousness like proof of maturity. The jokes get quieter. The hobbies become more respectable. They stop doing things that might make them look stupid. Everything becomes very mature and very boring. Men who stay psychologically young resist that shift. They can laugh at themselves. They can be terrible at something and enjoy it anyway. They can make a stupid joke, dance badly, compete over something meaningless, or laugh so hard they forget they're supposed to be a serious adult. That isn't immaturity. It's flexibility. Play requires you to temporarily stop managing how other people see you. And after 40, that matters. Life naturally becomes heavier. More responsibility, more loss, more things outside your control. If your personality becomes heavier too, life starts feeling smaller every year. The men who stay young don't avoid reality. They refuse to let reality remove every trace of play from them. Keep the part of you that can still be an idiot sometimes. Because staying playful won't keep you young if you're dragging decades of emotional weight behind you. Habit 6. They stop keeping emotional receipts. By 40, almost every man has a list. Someone betrayed him. A relationship ended badly. A friend disappeared. A boss humiliated him. A family member said something years ago he still remembers. He may have every right to be angry, but there is a point where remembering what someone did to you stops protecting you and starts forcing you to experience it again. Some men carry old resentment like evidence for a trial that ended years ago. They replay the conversation, rewrite what they should have said, wait for an apology that may never come. Meanwhile, the person who hurt them may not have thought about it in years. Men who stay psychologically young learn to travel lighter. That doesn't mean pretending nothing happened or letting everyone back into your life. Sometimes forgiveness makes sense. Sometimes distance does. And sometimes the healthiest choice is simply refusing to keep renting mental space to someone who no longer deserves it. After 40, attention becomes more valuable. Carrying old anger doesn't preserve justice. It often preserves the version of you who was hurt. And once a man starts building his identity around what went wrong, he begins finding proof of decline everywhere. Habit 5. They don't turn physical decline into a personality. You know the conversation. One man mentions his knee. Another man's back immediately enters the competition. Then someone brings up blood pressure. Someone else has cholesterol numbers ready. 5 minutes later, 4 grown men are comparing body parts like mechanics discussing cars overdue for service. And yes, the body changes after 40. Recovery can take longer. Things hurt for reasons you don't remember causing. Your doctor's numbers suddenly matter. Ignoring your health would be stupid, but taking care of your body and building your identity around its decline are two completely different things. Men who stay psychologically young deal with problems without constantly narrating themselves as broken. They go to the doctor, train differently, recover smarter, adapt, then they keep living. Because if every conversation becomes another piece of evidence that you're falling apart, eventually you start seeing your entire life through that lens. A sore shoulder becomes proof you're getting old. A bad night's sleep becomes proof you're getting old. Soon you're collecting evidence for a conclusion you already decided was true. Your knees can hurt at 45. Your conversation doesn't have to sound 75. Your body deserves attention. It just doesn't need to become the main character. But sometimes the thing shrinking a man's life isn't his body at all. It's an invisible audience. Habit 4. They stop asking whether a man their age is allowed to do it. You would think men become less self-conscious with age. Sometimes the opposite happens. Can a man my age wear that? Can I really start over now? Would this hobby look stupid? What would my kids think? Am I too old to be doing this? So they slowly start living inside an invisible rulebook for middle age. Nobody hands it to them, but somehow they know the rules. Dress safely, take fewer risks, don't reinvent yourself, don't start something unless you're already good at it, don't embarrass yourself. Men who stay young after 40 gradually stop caring about that rulebook. If they want to learn guitar at 47, they learn guitar badly at 47. If they want to travel alone, change careers, buy the ridiculous jacket, or try the thing their friends will joke about, they survive the jokes. Because external validation quietly makes your world smaller. Every time your first question is, how will this look? Instead of, do I actually want this? Another possibility disappears. Do that for 20 years, and you're no longer living your life. You're managing the public relations department for it. Most people are thinking about you far less than you imagine. Use that freedom. Because once a man becomes too concerned with acting his age, he often starts romanticizing the world in which he felt younger. Habit 3. They don't turn nostalgia into a home address. Nostalgia feels harmless. The old songs were better. Cars had more personality. People actually talked to each other. Movies were better. Fine. Every generation does this. The problem begins when things were better then, quietly becomes nothing worth caring about is happening now. Now your best years aren't simply memories. You've mentally placed them behind you. And once a man starts believing his most interesting experiences already happened, his behavior starts matching the belief. Why learn the new thing? Why meet new people? Why understand new technology? Why start something that might take 5 years? Men who stay psychologically young can appreciate the past without moving back into it. They keep the old music and find new music. They tell old stories and create new ones. They don't need to love every new trend. They remain curious enough to understand the world that exists now instead of demanding that it return to the one they knew at 25. Because the real danger of nostalgia isn't remembering yesterday. It's losing interest in tomorrow. And once tomorrow stops looking interesting, life becomes extremely easy to repeat. Habit 2. They deliberately remain beginners. One of the easiest ways to make life feel old is to become extremely good at repeating it. Same route, same restaurants, same conversations, same people, same weekend, same opinions, same answer whenever someone suggests something unfamiliar. I'm good. After 40, you can become very efficient at designing a life with almost no surprises left in it. You know what you like. You know who your friends are. You know what you're good at. You know exactly how your weekend will go. It feels stable. But stability can quietly become autopilot. New situations force attention. Learning forces mistakes. Unfamiliar environments make you notice things again. That's why men who stay psychologically young keep doing something many adults start avoiding. They voluntarily become beginners. They learn a language and sound terrible. Try a new sport. Travel somewhere unfamiliar. Take a class. Build something. Start a side project. Anything that creates the uncomfortable experience of not already knowing what you're doing. Because being a beginner gives you something psychologically powerful. Evidence that you're still unfinished. There are still abilities you don't have, places you haven't seen, people you haven't met, versions of yourself that don't exist yet. And that is almost the opposite of psychological aging. A man doesn't become psychologically old simply because years passed. He starts feeling old when nothing in his life requires a new version of him anymore. But number one can quietly destroy all 6 habits with a single phrase. Habit 1. They refuse to let their age become their identity. 40 is not old. 45 is not a diagnosis. 50 is not a personality. Yet somewhere after 40, many men begin adding the same 3 words to decisions they once would have made without thinking. At my age. At my age, I probably shouldn't wear that. At my age, starting over is unrealistic. At my age, I can't waste time learning something new. At my age, I should have everything figured out. At my age, that's embarrassing. And that little phrase can become incredibly powerful. Because once you decide what a man your age is supposed to be, your behavior starts obeying the story. You stop being playful because grown men shouldn't act like that. You avoid being a beginner because looking incompetent feels embarrassing. You retreat into nostalgia because the present feels increasingly like someone else's world. You worry more about appearing respectable. You talk more about decline. You stop making plans that require a future version of you. And slowly, your world gets smaller. Then you look at that smaller life and use it as proof that you were right. See, I'm just getting old. That's the trap. Your chronological age is information. It should affect some decisions. A 45-year-old body doesn't necessarily recover like an 18-year-old body. Responsibilities change. Priorities change. Some limits are real. Pretending otherwise isn't youth. It's denial. But adapting to age and surrendering your identity to age are completely different things. Men who stay young after 40 respect reality without rehearsing decline. Because your body already knows how old it is. You don't need to remind your mind every morning. Aging is unavoidable. Psychological shrinking isn't. Your hair may change, your recovery may slow down, your face will show the years you've lived. Good, let it. But don't confuse growing older with becoming smaller. Keep something ahead of you. Something you're learning, something you're building, something that makes you laugh. Something you're still bad at. Something you haven't figured out yet. Because maybe the men who seem young after 40 aren't desperately trying to stay young at all. Maybe they simply never decided that their most interesting years were already behind them.